Alright, so now it's time for the Sawal Jawabs. And where do we start?
पूजा जी on your left अपना हाथ दिखाया प्रभास जी को, अगर दिखाया तो उनका क्या रिएक्शन था?
ये दादा पीछा ना बाजी प्रभास क्या हेड हो रहा है आपके हेड से?
मैं भी तो आगे जा रहा हूँ।
क्यों आगे कोई है सर?
हम एक्ट कर रहे हैं ना, लाइक ही डजंट नॉट एक्चुअली रीड इट, बट बाहर जो पंडित जी जो थे उन्होंने बोला कि मेरा फ्यूचर अच्छा है, तो आई एम वेरी हैप्पी अबाउट दैट और फिल्म हिट होगी, सो आई एम होपिंग।
प्रभास जी ने सुना है कि मिस्टर अमिताभ बच्चन डायरेक्टर हैं, तो व्हाट डू यू?
Yeah, so it was like great. You know about the voiceover which he gave? Cats. It was like everybody loves his voice, and I spoke to him and I said later, so like sweetly he gave a voice, and so it's very important. Start dialogue and finish with this dialogue. So I'm very grateful. We are all grateful to giving his voice.
भूषण जी, मेरा सवाल आपसे है। अभी तो सिनेमा के गंगूबाई की बात अच्छी दिन आई है, लेकिन मुझे अच्छी तरह से याद है कि जब के बाद बड़ी फिल्में फ्लॉप हुई, तब आपने एक दूसरे प्रोडक्शन हाउस, बड़े प्रोडक्शन हाउस डिसीजन लिया था कि आप फिल्में और बनाएंगे। तो उस समय जब सब लोग भी ऑनलाइन थे, हम लोग एज अ जर्नलिस्ट, तब आपको ऐसा कॉन्फिडेंस क्यों था कि आगे अच्छे दिन आएंगे?
देखिए, एंटरटेनमेंट इज नॉट ओनली लिमिटेड टू ओटीटी पे लिमिटेड नहीं होती है। लोगों को एंटरटेन होने के लिए आई थिंक थिएटर्स कभी हमारी जिंदगी से जा नहीं सकते, और उसी का रीजन है, और वो एक कॉन्फिडेंस हमें एज टी सीरीज और हमारे स्टूडियो में था कि ये थिएटर्स 100% तो वापस आएंगे और थिएटर्स में एंजॉय करेंगे, बिकॉज थिएटर्स इज नॉट ओनली वॉचिंग मूवीज, इट्स आउटिंग विच आप ओटीटी पे आउटिंग नहीं कर सकते, ओटीटी आप घर पे देखते हैं। तो एक फैमिली का आउटिंग होती है और उसके साथ एंटरटेनमेंट भी होती है। तो वी हैड दैट कॉन्फिडेंस फ्रॉम बिगनिंग, एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी हैव प्लान्ड अप ऑल आवर फिल्म्स इन थिएटिकल रिलीज, जो कि कुछ ओटीटी रिलीज हमने भी की थी, पूरी इंडस्ट्री भी कर रही थी। But now I'm very happy after the response of Gangubai के अब हमारी फिल्म भी नेक्स्ट आ रही है। We have a June releasing a day after tomorrow, then we have Radhe Shyam. So I hope people will come to theaters and enjoy the films on a big screen.
हेलो, मेरा नाम आरती सक्सेना है। मेरा सवाल प्रभास जी से है कि लाइक ज्योतिष विद्या को ना फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में 80% से ज्यादा लोग मानते हैं, चाहे वो साउथ इंडस्ट्री हो चाहे वो बॉलीवुड। तो लेकिन मेरा मानना है कि कर्म सबसे मेन होते हैं, इम्पोर्टेंट होते हैं। तो आप लोग कितना बिलीव करते हैं इस पे, और अगर ये सच होता है तो आप लोग कितना काम कर सकते हैं इस पे?
I believe in faith basically, but I never showed hand to anyone. Then rather told me the story. I thought like, oh, me promised. I never showed it to anyone. So, but the way it goes, it's between love and destiny, the fight. So, yeah.
Hello Prabhas, your center. Rahul here from the Pigni Chacha. हेलो, 3-4 सालों से बहुत सारा फर्क देखने को मिला है हमें। पहले ऑडियंस की नजर में होता था ये टॉलीवुड एक्टर, ये बॉलीवुड एक्टर, ये टॉलीवुड फिल्म, ये बॉलीवुड फिल्म, लेकिन मेकर्स एफर्ट डाल रहे हैं। अब इंडियन सिनेमा और इंडियन एक्टर की बारी आ रही है, तो मेकर्स एफर्ट डाल रहे हैं। आपकी तरफ से और क्या एफर्ट देखने को मुझे मिलेगा, और आप क्या उम्मीद करते हैं, और क्या बदलाव आएगा?
So it's a very good sign that India is becoming one, because the other countries like China, biggest industries like China or Hollywood, they have one language. We have only 18 to 20 languages. So now we are becoming Indian cinema. It will take like 5 years where everybody are experimenting in films. So like Telugu songs, Hindi song, Bahubali or RR, or every film we are all trying to reach Indian audience. It takes another five years, I think, because every day it's an experiment. And we're going to make India's only Indian films after 5 years, I think, like as you said. And it's going to be, we're going to be the biggest industry in the future.
Hi Prabhas, Shivani here from Times Now. You are right here. Okay, so my question is to you that now the Hindi audience basically has a perception that you are going to come in Hindi theatres only for action films. So would you want to change this perception? And the second question is to Pooja. That Pooja, we have seen all the romance when it comes to the women in the film. So do you also want to come to the action side of it?
First, should I? Or?
No, first you are.
So, yeah. So, I like the films which I'm doing, like Adi Purush or Nagi's project, they are like biggest action films. Every 2-3 films, I want to try something different. In Telugu also, I was an action hero for my first film, but I did Darling and Mr. Perfect, which worked. They were big hits, and I don't want the audience to get bored or fix it like that. I can do only action. There is action in Radhe Shyam, but not shum shum. But we have action. Like, you can see the visuals and all. So yeah, I don't want the audience to get bored of me, so I want to try something.
I honestly think that Hindi has seen love stories and we have some iconic love stories with DDLJ and all of that. But I also feel that we, as an audience, sometimes want to see more love stories which aren't happening. Some hoping, which is why Kabir Singh did really well, So I hope that with this film also people enjoy the love aspect of it. And when it comes to the action, I would say just wait for my next announcement. That's all I'm gonna say. But very excited. I definitely want to, do something with action because I feel that as a young girl, I look up to women who have played major action sequences and done roles like that where she's been the badass of the film, and growing up I've seen that, I've loved it, and I hope that through my choices in my films I could probably inspire another little Pooja. So I hope that happens very soon, and it will. Just give me a few months for my next announcement.
Hi, congratulations to the entire team. The teaser, the trailer, everything is excellent. Yeah. Bane the, it could be for Pooja and Bhushan also.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Pooja, कभी आपने कुछ किया अभी इस तरह से किया है कॉलेज में या कभी किसी
मैं तो definitely we did. Maybe, I saw Pooja's hand in the film.
भूषण जी आपसे जाना है कभी आप कभी कोई लड़की को इम्प्रेस करने के लिए हो सकता है
गाड़ी देते
इस तरह से कॉलेज में हम लोग ट्राई करते थे
गाड़ी
हाथ पकड़ना हो तो यू बिकम अ कॉमेस्ट एक्चुअली
Aji, सीधा गाड़ी में
I have never tried that. The Mercedes was telling me he has tried it. Told me, na?
हेलो पूजा, योर सेंटर राहुल। मेरा सवाल ये था आपसे कि प्रभास के साथ काफी वक्त बिताया आपने शूटिंग के दौरान, कुछ ऐसा जो ऑडियंस नहीं जानती है, फैंस नहीं जानते प्रभास के बारे में, आप बताइए।
I think the image is that he's a shy person, but I think he's actually if he warms up to the people and around his friends, he's actually a fun person and very jovial is what I would say. So that's what people don't know.
Hi Prabhas. Hi. Farikun from Polynama. Congratulations for the promo. I think it's outstanding. My question to you is that we are witnessing, I think, a superb change in a way. That the mainstreaming of South cinema, I think it's a beautiful experience for almost everyone. It's no more considered as regional cinema, and the way, in a way, it's like a benchmark in terms of be it box office, be it technical acumen as well as writing. Do you think this change had to come one way or the other? Because
it should come. I feel maybe it started with Bahubali or Rajmouli or whatever, but I think we should make an Indian film. It's time, and it has come. I think.
And do you think Radhe Shyam is one film that can truly go maybe because the theme is truly universal.
Yeah, the theme which I select, like I try to make, everybody are trying to make Indian films, north, south, east, west. So we tried like to make Indian film. So it is an Indian film. It's like love, destiny, fate. Everybody believes in it around the country, around the world also. So yeah.
Hi Prabhas.
Watch ko Maharaj.
This is Ravi from ABP News Channel. After Bahubali, Pushpa became a film which crossed 100 crore mark in northern region in Hindi belt. How do you see the success of Pushpa, which was released recently, which starred Allu Arjun in it? How do you see the success of that?
So like we are getting closer. Like we are making Indian films. Like yeah. So that's now Bahubali did, then KGF did. Now Pushpa. Now we are getting closer to make Indian films more and more. Like maybe a year in future we might release some 50 Indian films. So that's very good sign. We are going to become the world's one of the biggest industries once it happens.
Hello, hi Prabhas, Neha this side from Master. Hi, listen. प्रभास ये इस फिल्म को जो है राजा मौली जो है वो नरेट किया है उन्होंने एक बाहुबली के सुपर सक्सेस के बाद उनके साथ कोलैबोरेशन उस पर क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
Yeah, I don't know when Rajamouli does, but definitely we'll do something. And yeah, we are friends, so I can ask him. I don't ask him; he won't tell me. But we had a small plan, but I don't know when it happens. We'll let you know.
Hi, Prabhas, this side, center.
Hi.
So this film is kind of different than your films which we have watched. According to you, what do you think? What will attract your audience the most? Is it the you being in the film, or is it the story? What will attract the most to your films?
Any stars, I don't talk about any stars, but like any actor or stars, they really. The film runs only because of writer and the director. Then only I think if we stars or actors can make it bigger, little, the openings or something, but the film can run only by the story or the director.
Right. And एक डायलॉग है फिल्म में कि प्यार को लेकर आपका प्रेडिक्शन इस बार गलत है. वेल कितनी बार ऐसा हुआ है कि प्यार को लेकर आपका प्रेडिक्शन गलत हुआ है रियल लाइफ में?
बहुत बार हुआ है. That's why I didn't get married.
And मुझे आपसे एक सवाल ये है कि we know you are very versatile in terms of acting, but talking about राधे श्याम, कितनी versatility आपको दिखाने का मौका मिला है इस फिल्म में?
I feel like sometimes the script supports you, and I think this time the character has helped me kind of portray another version of myself. You're going to see a new Pooja, I would say. And it was great that I got to do a commercial film, which was a love story where the girl had a very strong character. I had to so I prepped a lot for it. She's fun, she's strong-headed, she's very much a girl of today, even though the film is set in, I would say, 80s, 70s, yeah, in that era. So I'm very excited because I hope you all like what I have done with the role. It has been, like I said, one of my most challenging roles, and on such a big scale, I hope you all love it.
पूजा भाई, प्रशांत से आपने बोला ज्योतिषी को आपने हार दिखाया और उन्होंने कहा आपकी कुंडली बहुत अच्छी है, तो उन्होंने ये भी बताया था कि आपको सिर्फ सुपरस्टार्स के साथ ही काम करना है, प्रभास, सलमान, रणवीर सिंह, और या ये भी बोला कि इसके अलावा आप गंगूबाई काठियावाड़ी जैसे कैरेक्टर्स भी हैं.
Sanjay sir, if you're watching this, please give me the chance. But इतनी बुरी बात तो नहीं है, मतलब अगर हम सुपरस्टार्स के साथ काम कर रहे हैं तो अच्छी बात है. I have also not worked with superstars. I haven't also, if you look at my filmography, but I think it's now about picking the right scripts for me. I think it's about picking the right characters, and I think that I've reached that stage where I feel like it's I want to be challenged as an actor more than anything. besides doing the commercial films also, which I am. And this is like the perfect amalgamation of both, I would say, because there's a scope for performance and it's a commercial film at the same time. So I hope you like it, and I hope I keep working with superstars, and they say that sangat acha ho to fir wo kabhi na kabhi to wo that it rubs off on you. So I hope that the superstardom of my co-stars also rub off on these things.
एक चीज और ऐड करना चाहूंगा, हर एक्टर के साथ काम करने का एक चैलेंज होता है, तो प्रभास के साथ काम करने का क्या चैलेंज आपको लगा और उन्होंने किया आपके साथ?
I think the challenge has been with his fans because they are so passionate about him, the darling fans, that if there was no update coming from the team, they used to bombard me on my Instagram and my Twitter saying that please Radhe Shyam update. So I think my challenge has been with that, but it's amazing to have such passionate fans.
Hi. Is this film inspired from Titanic? You can call it's an Indian Titanic. How much was it?
No, there's just a shift in the climax.
Adding to that, I had the same kind of question, especially I would have asked you this.
Yes, please.
You have seen and heard at international level also now here, somewhere Titanic kind of, even I got. So where will you rate the audio section over here? And what is so special about Prabhas and Pooja when it comes to audio level? There is any favorite thing about their audio?
Actually, I shouldn't say this. It's very pompous to say this. But when I actually saw the first cut, I told Radha, I call him India's James Cameron. Radha James Cameron is what I generally call him in my messages and all that. I said the climax is bigger than Titanic. The way it has been done, I mean, I don't want to break all the Q factor of the film. That's what I genuinely felt. So it was to me a huge challenge. See, again, it's a love story. Titanic was also a love story. Comparisons are going to come, but don't compare it. I'm saying this is more of a La La Land, I would say. For me, personally speaking. And when you deal with films like this and you want to make it international, like yesterday when we were watching the reels with Prabhas, he was actually saying that it's sounding international, it's looking international. It's like, but at the same time, it is a love story that comes from Indian cinema. Like Faridun said, you talked about Indian cinema. Now we're talking about Indian cinema. I should say historically it is wrong. There were a lot of South Indian films have had Indian actors from the north, and South Indian film was actually identified as Indian cinema. And if you look at 70 years of India's cinematic history, and it's that just in the last 20 years we just forgotten. If you put together Tamil cinema, Telugu cinema, Malayalam cinema put together, it's much bigger than Hindi cinema. We just didn't know about it. Their overseas openings, put everybody else to shame. I mean, if you look at it. So, actually, what pandemic has done is just leveled it. Now we know the other languages are there. Like Prabhas was saying, we are like more than, how many languages we have. We have as many industries. We just don't recognize it. Then we are the only one country. If you look at Europe, you only talk about UK, French cinema, Polish cinema, a little bit of other language cinema. But when we talk about India is bigger than Europe, and the number of industries that we have is more than 15. As in industries that is working is more than 15. Europe doesn't have that kind of numbers, and so because we have our own stories, our own language, our own literature. So Radhe Shyam come from the core of Indian cinema. So even if you see visuals of that kind, and because the film is set in Europe, because that's what the basic tenets of the story is that's why it is set in Europe. It's not that we want to compete with Titanic or make it like that, or go one step ahead of it. But the story demanded that it be set in Europe in the 70s, and so we are just coming together. I mean, the Indian audience is coming together. I mean. Well, that's what the pandemic has done to us. post-pandemic, we have identified as one people through Indian cinema. And that is the core of, Indian cinema has done in the last 2.5 years.
At the same time, the speciality of the voices.
Yeah, the second part of the question was very interesting. I want to know the answer.
What was the second part of the question?
The speciality of the voices.
See,
You're a doctor for your audio.
Speak Hindi? Oh, come on. And what's the other one?
I speak Telugu also now.
Okay, they did it on their own, and they worked really, really hard. I mean, of course, because of the pandemic, we couldn't go to commercial dubbing studios, so we created our own studio. They came there and they worked day in, day out, and they made it happen. And I see they are very, Prabhas, especially to talk about Prabhas, he's very concerned how he's reaching out, There is, look at him as an actor who was identified with Bahubali, and you have this larger than life image, but he's doing a love story, and he comes, look at similarly, he comes to the studio and say that, don't treat me like Bahubali, I'm not, in this film, I'm different, so treat me like the character. Very rarely you have actors from North speaking like that. I'm very, very proud of him, They are, except barring a few actors from North, they see only themselves. And here I see an actor, a pan-India actor, much bigger than anybody that you can name, comes to the studio, listen to his sequences and say that, don't treat me like this. This is wrong. Treat me like the character that I am. And that's, again goes back to one of the things that he said. I can only give an opening. The film runs or don't run is because of my character worked or the director.
What I read was there's a king called Vikramaditya who popularized palmistry around India and around the world. So I took an inspiration of the name from that. And Prerna, the meaning of Prerna is, I think you'll all understand that. So why I named her Prerna is once you watch the film, you'll understand it. And coming back to why I named it Radhe Shyam, is there any classical love story in India bigger than Radhe Shyam, Radha and Krishna? And I felt that that's the right thing to do. And I would like to add some an answer to a few of the questions. So this film is based on it's a love story. The conflict is astrology. And coming to astrology, if you take astrology, either we believe it or we don't believe it. Only there are two categories. And this is the most age-old question. I've been reading about this question in 500-year-old scriptures as well. Is it true or not? But if something is not true, it has to extinct. But it is not. Why is that happening? And the other thing is do we have a logical conclusion to palmistry or astrology or whatever it is? We cannot come with a sentence with that. So the question is people who believe in it will question their belief system. People who do believe in it, they'll relook at this issue in a different way once again. And I think Radhe Shyam is a film to fall in love with and to understand an aspect, an age-old question as well.
Hello, Prabhas. Hi, Prabhas, you are right.
Hi.
On your left, how much do you believe in astrology? And second question is, who has been your inspiration in Hindi films? Any hero, any film? Who has been your inspiration?
Yeah, I like Salman and Shah Rukh. Amitabh Bachchan sir is always a legend and everybody loves him. So yeah. And what's the other question?
Do you believe in astrology?
No, actually that's why I like the story 70. Yeah, the answer. No. Okay, yeah, I never believed.
Prabhas, do you agree? Yeah. Welcome to Mumbai. Prabhas, do you agree that with Bahubali you opened the route to the Tollywood industry and now it's doing very well? What is your answer to
So
this?
actually, writers and director opened I think I was part of it. So yes, actually we started to open a lot of things. Yeah.
And do you just said that star and actors, So I want to ask, do you agree that for a film to run successfully, a star is needed, you know, and what do you consider yourself as a star or as an actor?
What do you think? I'm star or not? Okay, whatever. Okay, hope both one day. So yeah, I didn't do Radhe Shyam to prove as an actor. I just wanted the audience. I want to entertain audience in a different way. So I'm not like very keen about awards or nothing. Maybe now, maybe after 10 years, I don't know. But now I'm not so keen about awards. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Prabhas Anna.
Thank you.
And thanks for my fans.
Prabhas Anna, last question ఇక్కడ మధ్యలో మీ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్ చూసినాము. ఇప్పుడు రాధే శ్యామ్ లో అయితే అక్కడ లేదు అని తెలుస్తుంది మనకి. ఆది పురుష్ లో వచ్చే ఛాన్స్ ఉందా? ఫుల్ బాడీ సిక్స్ ప్యాక్ తో.
Yeah, we'll talk about Radhe Push later, sir. Yeah, we'll talk about. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That's my friends. I want to thank my fans a lot. Thank you.
And before we wrap up the evening, would like to invite on stage Mr. Anil Parani, ladies and gentlemen, a Filmsing powerhouse distributor. Well, he's distributed some of the biggest
Excuse me, sir. Oh, madam, niche.
So give it up for him. We all love these people. And once again, thank you to this amazing team of Radhe Shyam for the Jalwa that we'll be witnessing on the 11th of March.
Mobile. Prabhas sir on the left. Mobile. Oh, madam, mobile. Prabhas on the left. पीछे प्रभास सर सेंटर नीचे कौन है? पूजा मैडम उधर सेल्फी हो गया सर यू टू वेट चलो सर कुबरा जी सेंटर पूजा जी क्या बात है? Again,
प्रोमो रिलीज हो गया है, बहुत ही पसंद आया लोगों को. सो फर्स्टली प्रभास आपसे शुरू करना चाहूंगी. व्हेन यू मेक अ फिल्म, एक अलग ही आपका बाहुबली के बाद में ऑरा क्रिएट हो गया है. पीपल आर लविंग यू नॉट जस्ट हियर एंड वर्ल्ड वाइड, हर जगह आपको बहुत ज्यादा पसंद किया जाता है. बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू अ फिल्म, व्हाट्स मोर एक्सपेरिमेंटल फॉर यू? Is it the kind of work you are doing, or is it the kind of character you are playing?
The toughest part will be, I think, sometimes acting also, but I think the scripts, is the toughest part because only that decides your fate. So yeah, I don't know how America selects so many varieties and still makes blockbusters. So I think scripts are the toughest part.
मैं इसी की कंटिन्यूटी में एक सवाल पूछना चाहूँगी। आपने कहा कि स्क्रिप्ट का सिलेक्शन बहुत मुश्किल होता है। क्या आपको ये प्रेशर बाहुबली की सक्सेस के बाद ज़्यादा फील होता है?
बाहुबली के बाद bigger stress, but before also it's the same. Yeah, now the pressure is a little more like now it is like and it's like we don't know what Bengali people like, what Punjabi like, every state has little difference and it's very hard to take scripts after Bahubali.
After इतने सालों के बाद जब बाहुबली की बात आती है, इस टाइम पर just suddenly because expectations नहीं होती, आपकी बात जानना चाहूँगी, आपके लिए आज की डेट पे जब you look back, what is बाहुबली for you?
Bahubali is everything like it's everything like I can't explain. It's the something magic happening right there. I think it's wonderful. It's very good.
Prabhas,
Okay.
Bahubali has become the biggest Indian film to have the maximum listing, and your film Saho was highly accepted in the entire world. So that's like back to back two big huge hits. So can we say that you are finally we have a pan-India superstar whose movies have worked?
I never say the whole it so, but I'm lucky after Bahubali, Saho commercially did well, and especially in the north, they accepted. We made some mistakes, yes. But yeah, still the north. I saw some lot of press people and like a lot of increase the film also. I saw the theaters and all. Thanks a lot for that. And yeah, more than any part of the country, I think Saho was more accepted north.
ओके जैसा आपसे पूछना चाहूँगी।
आपने जैसे कहा कि ये पता नहीं होता कि क्या बंगालीज को अच्छा लगेगा या फिर क्या नॉर्थ इंडियंस को अच्छा लगेगा, लेकिन जब ऐसी एक फिल्म पैन इंडिया रिलीज हो रही है, पूरी दुनिया देखी इसे, वो अभी शुरू हुआ है लेना है क्या कुछ?
Yeah, that extra mile is like, yeah, it's like very stressful. Yeah, I tortured my director also a lot because that extra mile is like you don't know. You can't understand in one film that what other parts Kerala. Yeah, I never released before Bahubali Kerala. Like that, many states. You need to run the extra mile, and you don't know till the film release how it works. So it was very stressful.
Well,
Almost 8 years. Sorry.
तो पूजा आपसे जानना चाहूँगी, how much experimental you were when it comes to जैसे कि शो अगर फिल्म की बात की जाए तो फिल्म 70s का जो वाइब है वो दे रही है, तो how much experimental you were with your looks क्योंकि वो वाइब देना है ऑडियंसेस।
हाँ, I feel like पहले तो डायरेक्टर के साथ मैंने वी सैट डाउन और डिस्कस किया कि उनके माइंड में प्रेरणा कैसे दिखती है, क्योंकि हर एक डायरेक्टर के माइंड में एक रहता है कि ये कैरेक्टर ऐसे उन्होंने सोच के लिखा है कि ये ऐसे होगी। तो आई फील मैं अपना नोट्स लेकर आई लाइक अ गुड स्टूडेंट कमिंग टू स्कूल फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम। आई केम लाइक ओ बट सर डोंट यू थिंक लाइक शी शुड बी लाइक दिस, शी शुड, एंड ही काइंड ऑफ मेड मी रियलाइज प्रेरणा वाज फॉर हिम। एंड I feel like sometimes it's very important to not let the era take over your emotion also. It's not just a fashion show, it's about the emotions that she's going through. And sometimes she can be mentally as progressive as a 2022 kind of girl. So we worked on the character more than internally rather than externally to inward. So we kind of worked on who she was and then what the vision is. क्योंकि ये जो फिल्म है काफी I would say it's like a fantasy way of showing the imagery is very, I mean sir you would be a better person to talk about it, but the images are very beautiful. We wanted to show some people something new, something fresh, which is why sir I think you should talk about it, how you came about it.
Coming to the characters Vikramaditya and Prerna, like to understand the characters, first of all you need a lot of emotional maturity towards the characters.
because what they're going so what they're going through, to understand every aspect of pain or happiness or anything within their characters and everything, we need a lot of emotional maturity into it. So for that to understand, we went through like a lot of discussions, and like I was suggesting some books, and Pooja was like, as she said, she made a notes out of it, and we were doing workshops on top of it, and all that helped a lot in understanding the characters. Like while I was discussing with them, it's a process of me also understanding more about the characters, and particularly coming to Vikramadigya's character, it's so in-depth because these kind of characters we don't see in real life to compare or to understand it, because somebody who reads your palm and who can clearly see it as a picture of your past and present and everything, we haven't seen anybody like that in real life. So playing that character would definitely take a lot of effort, a lot of understanding, because any small detail which goes here and there might miscommunicate to the audience. So for that, like Sir said, we had to go through multiple discussions and everything. And like towards the end, it's all about like we three people there understanding it, okay, and it is working out and everything and going forward. So it was interesting.
So just like we have Sanjay Leela Bhansali sir, whose sets are known for अगर हम राधे श्याम की बात करें तो we can see वो जो शिप वाला है या फिर बाकी प्रोमोज में और भी चीजें जो दिखाई है, you have also worked so much on the sets and the work. कितना preparation time and what was into your mind while you were doing all this research?
This process was like, it happened for like almost 4 years, and it was like making 3 films. One in Hindi, one in Telugu, and one in climax.
5 years. For you, 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. So it was a continuous process of developing more and more. So from the beginning, like me and Sir were on the same page to present it as grand as we can, because we haven't seen a grand love stories like Sanjay Leela Bhansali sir, is like one of the legend here. And first thing, if it can be compared to his vision, I'll take it as a compliment. But Sanjay Leela Bhansali sir's film, we talk about it is because he's Sanjay Leela Bhansali, and this is beginning, and this is something which we tried completely new, and Europe vintage and everything which haven't been seen by the audience and everything, and we are more on banking on that.
Prabhas sir, I would also want to ask you, अभी जो फिल्म है वो वर्ल्ड वाइड बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही है. Well, it's a pan India film. Obviously, world wide बहुत अच्छे से काम करेगी. But since this film is shot in Europe, मैं आपसे जानना चाहूँगी किसी फैन से एनकाउंटर हुआ है आप दोनों का ही वहाँ पर?
We've encountered.
Right.
So yeah, like you're talking about the Indians who are in Europe.
Yeah.
We definitely met someone with your pictures.
And so many times, I remember I was walking down Oxford Street in London, and up the Oxford Street is like packed. And I was walking with my mom, and suddenly I heard Pooja, and I just, because it just sounded so strange, I turned back, and they were foreigners, and they were like, oh my God, we watch your movies, we see your films, and it's so heartwarming when you see that. Mujhe to chodo, my cousin sister was walking in Manhattan one day, and a foreigner stopped and said, "You're Pooja Hegde's sister, right? I've seen your photos on her Instagram." And they've recognized, and she FaceTimed me, and I spoke to the guy, and he knew my South Indian film names. He was saying the names by heart. So I feel like it's kind of our films are like breaking barriers even internationally, and they're loving our films and watching, and that's something that's so gratifying.
Because I want to know one thing, that Bollywood, film industry or non-film industry, including as an researcher, what was it for you before Bahubali, and what is it for you after this, and especially with this film?
So that time we used to watch whatever films. Sometimes we watch normally it's it's most Bollywood films a lot, because we are used to it. Suddenly we don't know so much information. We have so many languages, so many big industries doing great films, and for us it was
Pooja, you have been part of so many, even Hindi also you are not, but how do you balance between all and also your lineup is super
Loads of coffee and an excited heart, I would say.
The stars in here, we watch Salman, Ranveer. So, this space जो है वो कैसा सब?
I think one, I'm blessed. I mean, I've been not only to work in these films, but to be accepted by these different audiences. You know, you have to understand the audiences are so different. So, I've always said I've never wanted to speak in just one language. I've always wanted to be an Indian actor. You know, I always feel like good content is good content anywhere, and I should be part of it, not because of any other reason, but because I like to work with it. It can be sometimes daunting to work with people like that, but I think what keeps me up, like you said, was that I'm just excited to be on these sets and play different kind of characters. You know, like Prerna in this film, or stand-up comedian in the other, and Beast in something else. And that's what's keeping me excited. In fact, on Houseful, there used to be a joke about because in between Houseful shoot, I used to run and go to Hyderabad and shoot a film and then come back. I've done 3 shifts sometimes in a day, you know. So there was a joke that Akshay sir and Ritesh used to be like, Pooja bathroom gayi, she's gone for some other shoot, that was the joke, कि किधर गई वो तो 5 मिनट में कुछ और फिल्म shoot करके आ जाएगी. So it was crazy. I have a lot of stories to tell, because just to get the schedule done was like a task, like a jigsaw puzzle, and I'm happy that it's worked out. The people have accepted me, loved me, and I'm excited to portray the different characters that we're portraying this year.
प्रभास, आपकी बाहुबली आने के पहले पिछले कुछ सालों में हमने देखा था कि एक बाउंड्री थी साउथ इंडियन फिल्म इंडस्ट्री के बीच में, लेकिन आप उस ओपनिंग बैट्समैन के तौर पे उतरे जिसने बहुत जबरदस्त रिकॉर्ड बनाया. उसके बाद KGF, पुष्पा लगातार रिकॉर्ड बन रहे हैं, और अब कोई ऐसी बाउंड्री नहीं रह गई है. आपने आज खुलासा भी किया कि आप इंस्पायर होते हो सलमान, शाहरुख, अमिताभ बच्चन जी के. बच्चन साहब ने तो आवाज भी दे दी फिल्म में, जिनके लिए आप होम कुक भी लेके गए थे. कब सलमान, शाहरुख के साथ आपको काम करते हुए देखेंगे? और इसको कैसे देखते हो कि ये जो बाउंड्री है वो खत्म हो गई और आप उसके ओपनिंग बैट्समैन रहे?
Actually, Rajmouli did that. I was part of.
And also, how does it feel when you love someone's work like Amitabh Bachchan? How does it feel to work with?
I want to talk about him for hours and hours, but it's amazing. Just say project I want to talk about him for days, months, and years. Many films, Diva, Sole, commercial films. Yeah, I like Kamar Akbar, Anthony. I like his entertaining. He's very good, superb in action. He's so good in comedy. He's great in dance. He's good in everything.
इस फिल्म में एस्ट्रोलॉजी और ये सब दिखाया गया. आपने पहले कहा कि आप इन सभी बिलीव नहीं करते, पर ये फिल्म करने के बाद आपका परसेप्शन बदला और आपने कभी सोचा जाके अपना हार पार दिखाया?
Yeah, but maybe I thought of it, but I heard some very interesting stories about this later. Before I was not so interested, but like Radha explained some of the actors and all. It's very interesting to say the signs or destiny, or someone can read the future, and some parts in our families also we experience something. Like for example, my friend Vaishnav, he told me first about these things. Like one national told me, like on this day you're going to fall, you'll meet an accident. So be careful, don't go where to go. He was on the cycle. It was like a little hub. He was cycling in the back, fell inside his cycle, the tire, and he went slowly and fell off, and all his teeth went off. And I said, like, how did they save that day? So these many stories we always listen. But I never showed my hand to anyone, and it's interesting. But I don't know. I never.
Why you are scared or?
No, I don't know. I don't know. A man can tell your future. Everyone can tell it, or it's little signs, or 80% signs, or it's 99. So I don't know. So and this we always discuss, but it's very interesting stories which I heard and yeah.
So any inner changes, because if you're playing a role like this, certainly you need to work a lot. Maybe you have to become a little more accepted towards the nature and the positive sides, and some you know, become a healer or whatever for that matter. So will it change you anywhere?
For me, I can't reveal some things, but it was little complicated, my character, the way he designed. So we had some discussions and we got to make it entertaining. The same character can be made very like artistic, subtle also. So we took a choice, like it was a little complicated, the character, the situation where he is. I'll explain to you.
एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन प्लीज सर आपसे जानना चाहूँगी प्रभास का एक अलग ऑरा है when you worked with him आपके माइंड में वो ऑरा था और was it only working with Prabhas?
No, the first time
feels I'm a kid.
Actually, like see, from the outside world, when we look at his aura or image or anything, we are quite excited, and there would always be a fanboy moment. But while working with him, first thing he does is like he'll just delete those aspects from your mind, so that you'll be more comfortable in discussing everything with him and all that. So that's definitely for a young filmmaker like me, my second film, having an opportunity to discuss everything with him and all that. So like he gives you that ease, and he keeps you in the director's chair where you can command things and all that. So yeah.
So
Last question, Prabhas.
I met hundreds of farmers, hundreds of astrologers.
So you believe it?
What?
You believe it?
See, I have questions which I cannot answer either this way or that way.
So Prabhas, first of all, a big thanks to you and your director for this romantic treat for your fans, your darlings. आप एस्ट्रोलॉजी पे बिलीव नहीं करते हैं, but what if you meet a Vikram who's really talented, and what is the one thing you would really like to ask him, you'd really like to know?
Radhe Shyam hit blockbuster. What is the result of Radhe Shyam?
Done, guys?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
पूजा जी यहाँ पे पूजा जी होने राइट हम सेंटर में पूजा यहाँ पे हाँ जी पूजा जी मेरे पास पूजा मैम यहाँ पे पूजा जी
वन बोलो
पूजा यहाँ पे यहाँ पे